Certainly are. On that one, Bryn. Well done to our top three in the Nankang Tyres BMW Compact Cup. From rear-wheel drive BMW saloons to rear-wheel drive Mazda sports cars, because we're now coming up to the first of three races this weekend for what is a very competitive and always very exciting championship, the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 SuperCup. Now this is for the Mark III generation Mazda MX-5s that run the 2-litre sport version that runs in the championship, and as ever the championship battle has been absolutely hard fought between three or four drivers. Coming into the weekend, we can tell you the situation on points. Well, we've had already the first three meetings so far the year at Snetterton, and we've had Alton Park, and we've also had Anglesey, where they've competed just a few weeks ago. Coming to the weekend, it's been double defending champion Luke Herbert, who might be a familiar name to those who also have known him in the Michelin Clio Cup at one point, being a champion. He's a double defending champion. He leads the way on 600 points, with Jack Harding with 592, Aidan Hills on 588, and Steve Roberts, who was a former BMW Compact Cup champion, as we've just seen, with 562 points. Will Stacey, who's not here this weekend, sadly, but he's been a rapid driver in the past get that right now, in Lotus Cup, and also he picked up a win, his first proper race of the season last year at Silverstone. And sixth position for Patrick Fletcher. Now, Patrick actually has got a really good starting position for this race, in around about fourth position, because this is his debut in the Super Cup this year, but he has been pretty prominent before racing Renault Clios, I think the Clio 182s so far, so it's a little bit sort of outside of the Clio Cup in the regular championship that you find, but he's gone from a front-wheel drive Renault Clio to a rear-wheel drive Mazda MX-5 and adapted incredibly quickly, so he's done a fantastic job. And to be sixth in the points in his first season, brilliant achievement so far. Seventh for Jack Sycamore on 524 points. Eighth for Gary Townsend on 522, who also leads the way in the Masters contest. This is like the BMW Compact Cup, where they have a Masters contest for drivers aged 45 and over. David Henderson is in ninth place, and Bradley Kent, who comes off the back of two race victories in the sister series, which is the Mazda MX-5 Super Series for the same cars that run with the Mark I Championship that's incredibly successful, with usually has over 50 cars a meeting. Has just picked up two wins at Snetterton last weekend and comes here, of course, on the back with some really good confidence. So the story so far is that we effectively had the three main championship contenders from last year have all won at least two races so far this season. They've won. Luke Herbert has had two race victories. But Jack Harding, Aidan Hills have had three, because Luke Herbert didn't even get on the podium so much in the first at Anglesey. Well, he did, but he didn't manage to get a race victory. We're just cleaning up a couple more cars. So we're going to get a slightly sort of a bit more of a delay here, which gives us a bit more chance to talk about the Mazda MX-5 Super Cup. And to give a bit more of an insight on the Mazda MX-5 Super Cup, I'm glad to be joined just for a few minutes here before the start by one of the coordination team. Let's on the microphone. A very lovely hello to Miss Lindsay Close. Good afternoon, Lindsay. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm good, Scott. Thank you very much, except having to run all the way from the other end of the paddock.
Good stuff. Well, of course, this is now the halfway point in the season for the Mazda MX-5 Super Cup. We've now got what's set to be a fantastic title battle going in. For those who have not seen the Mazda MX-5 Super Cup before, just give us a quick little run through in terms of what the championship's all about and where it's come from and how competitive it really is.
Yeah, of course. Well, the Mazda MX-5, everyone knows that as a sports car. It's come from the Mark 1s. We've then gone to the SuperCups. SuperCups are now backing the TCRs, which is absolutely incredible to see, with just potential to go forward.
And there's some top-line drivers in here who've done all sorts, and you've got top-line drivers like Luke Herbert, who's got high quality, Jack Harding, who's done a couple of great things. He's been the champion a few times. Aidan Hills has come through the last couple of years. This is a championship where if you can get the gist of the car pretty quickly, you can be up there with the front runners, but even we've had top drivers in here who've come in like Paul O'Neill in the last couple of seasons, and they've said in many cases that they're top. We know how quick someone like Paul O'Neill is, but even he's come in and said, look, I know how quick I am, but these guys you race these weekend and weekend out, they are tough competitors to come up against.
Oh, completely. I have the Mark 1 drivers, some of which, like Will Stevenson in 62, he may be towards the back of the grid, but he's a Mark 1 driver, as you remember. He's come up and he says this learning curve from the Mark 1 to the Mark 3 is just, it's a completely different car. It's a completely different beast.
Now, in terms of drivers that have come through, there's a couple of drivers that have come through the MX-5 Super Cup that we know who have got on to great things. Two notable names that I can think of off the top of my head are predominantly Tom Roach, who now races in the Porsche Carrera Cup, but another name which I think fans of a certain motoring
think I
so-called
know
the
who you're gonna
Grand Tour
say.
might know, which is 2014 champion Abby Eaton, who, for those who didn't know, effectively got her possible big break in motorsport, racing and becoming champion in 2014 in the Mazda MX-5 SuperCup. So it shows the calibre of drivers it brings through.
Oh, and as well, if people go back and look at that round that Abby Eaton won, that was incredible. It was a last minute. She won by 1 point. Speaking of which, there's only 12 points separating the top three in here. So you've got Luke Herbert starting in second, but he's currently championship winner and currently in the standings as number one. He is only separated by 8 points between Jack Harding, who First Blood goes to in this race. But then Aidan Hill is only 4 points behind Jack. He's currently in fifth.
How simple is it to get into a championship like this? We know it's competitive. Of course, we have the MX-5 Super Series as well. How simple is it to get into a championship like this, and how can people get themselves on the grid? If they like the look of these cars and think, I want to have a go on one of these, how can they go and do it?
Oh, completely. It is as easy as go to Facebook and send us a message. We have everything ready right there and going. We've got a fantastic championship coordinator, Mandy Andrews. She knows everything there is to know about the Mark 1s, the Super Series, the Super Cup. It's infinite the amount of ways to get into it.
So for this first race then, just looking at the grid, we've got Jack Harding on pole position. We'll go to the grid as they come out of the formation area in a moment's time. Jack Harding starting on pole position, Luke Herbert starting alongside him, Aidan Hills, who's third in the championship Cummings this weekend, back in fifth. Who do you see possibly coming out on top? Because we know how competitive it gets between Jack and Luke, particularly on the run towards turn one. Are we expecting a bit of fireworks here? Is it going to be a pretty more civilised race, or what do you think is going to happen here?
Well, Luke knows this track really well, but it is Jack's local track. So I don't know. I don't know how they've performed so far. I know that they're all saying they're a couple of seconds off what they were a couple of years ago when they were here because of the resurfacing. But honestly, I think Stephen Roberts is going to be wanting to watch in this race. He is definitely throwing a spanner in the works between Jack and Luke, and he takes every opportunity of those two battling.
Well, he's starting third on the grid in the white car there. Also another driver to watch out for as to come onto the grid. We'll give you the grid in a second. One driver that's really impressed me, and he's starting fourth on the grid, Patrick Fletcher. It's his first year in rear-wheel drive, going to come front-wheel drive. How much has he impressed you? Because to be that high up in the grid, as competitive as it is, and numbers aside, to be fourth on the grid about mid-season in qualifying, to be up there with guys who've been doing it the last couple of seasons, have been race winners in other championships. He's been mainly in front-wheel drive. How impressed have you been to see him up there already on the second row of the grid for this race? Oh,
incredible. He came out and he just has such a lively manner, and he transforms that onto his driving skills. He goes out there and he has fun, first and foremost, and I think that's something that all of these drivers in the Super Cup can take forward. They all come out with a smile on their face.
Good stuff. So just before we go to the grid, if people do want to find out more information just quickly, where can they go? Obviously on Facebook and also on the website. Where can they go to find out more information?
By all means, go to Google, type in BRSCC Mazda Super Cup, and there is an infinite amount of ways. As I say, we're all over social media, and we're also over the website. There's Mandy's email address on there, so you could pick up a phone, and I can guarantee you 2 o'clock in the morning she does still answer.
She is someone who does look after her drivers a lot. Doesn't matter where she's in the world, even on holiday or anything else. She does look after the drivers where she can. So, Lindsay, thanks for being here. You're free to stick around and watch the race if you like, obviously whilst the race is going on that one. You're free to stick around and watch the race. Let's quickly give you the grid then of what's happening for race 1 of the weekend for the Mazda MX-5 Super Cup. As it is Jack Harding on pole position on the front row of the grid alongside reigning double defending champion Luke Herbert. Row 2 is former BMW Compact Cup champion Steve Roberts. Alongside him is Patrick Fletcher. I think one of his best qualifying results from a qualifying session in 4th. Aidan Hills has got some work to do for 5th position on the grid alongside Jack Sycamore in 6th. Will Stevenson and Gary Townsend are on the 4th row of the grid. Nick Rutter and Raymond Worley, who is a former Masters champion, is back on the grid here. Good to see him back in the grid in 10th. And David Henderson and Bradley Kent, who comes fresh off the back of his double win at the Super Series at Snetterton last weekend, he's starting 12th. And then George Grant of Clapham North fame is 13th on the grid. Alongside him is Christopher Richardson. So, quick ID check. It is the white and red car with the blue striping. That is Jack Harding. And this man right here, car number 1, is double defending champion Luke Herbert. Then it's the all-white car, Steve Roberts, with the gold wheels in 3rd place. That is him in 3rd position. And then Patrick Fletcher is the black and red car, pulling his position here in 4th place. Aidan Hills is the blue, orange and black car. And then Jack Sycamore, who has been getting quicker and quicker. He took his first Super Cup podium last time out at Anglesey. Thumbs up from Jack, he's all ready to go. Has raced in Mark 1s before, like a few drivers in this championship, have transitioned across from the Mark 1 championship into the Super Cup. And it's a great breeding ground because the Mark 1 championship brings springs grids of 50-plus cars. Lots of different skill drivers and drivers who've come up and won championships like Alan Henderson and James Blake Baldwin. They've come up from the Mark 1s to win championships. But who's going to win the race today for the first of 3 this weekend for the Mazda MX-5 Super Cup? There is George Grant and Christopher Richardson on the back of the grid. So 14 cars, 20 minutes. Who's going to win the sprint down towards Clervaux? Race 1 of the weekend for the Mazda MX-5 Super Cup sees the red lights on. They go out now and race 1 is underway. It's a good start from the front row from both Jack Harding and Luke Herbert. They're going to run side by side down towards Clervaux for the first time. Herbert looks to have his nose in front. It's 3 abreast for 3rd place behind as Steve Roberts backs out. Up the inside, the pair of them from row 3 goes Aidan Hills up into 3rd place, and now round the outside for 4th goes Patrick Fletcher. So not a great start for Steve Roberts, back down to 5th. Jack Sycamore is 6th, ahead of Will Stevenson in 7th place. But through the S's for the first time, Harding has the whole shot and leads the way for Luke Herbert on his tail on the sprint towards Tower Corner for the first time. And already Herbert isn't hanging around, he's on the tail. One car skipped across the chicane, Bradley Kent in the 44. And up the inside, Posse for the lead, looking at Aidan Hills, look up the inside of Luke Herbert. And still no move through, but careful boys, they're on the first lap of 20 minutes and they're going through it already. That just proves how competitive it is. Only halfway around lap 1 and they're already scrapping like anything. Up into the Jim Clark S's for the first time, and already Jack Harding again under pressure from Herbert. He tries to go one way, then the other, but Harding knows exactly what Herbert can do. Looking back up the inside, there's almost contact, and Hills wants to look up the inside for 2nd place. These 3 have been the top runners in the championship over the last 12 months or so. And they really are showing it here as Harding a little wide on the exit. Patrick Fletcher's going for 3rd. Trying to make a move on Aidan Hills here as they sprint down towards the complex. Bradley Kent's got 2 wheels onto the grass. And look at Steve Roberts trying to get back up the inside of Patrick Fletcher, who in turn has a massive lock-up. And now heading into the complex for the first time. It's now still Harding from Herbert, and again Steve Roberts looking up the inside with a big dive into the hairpin at the expense of Patrick Fletcher. Fletcher left the door open, and ever the opportunist, Steve Roberts is up into 4th place. Aidan Hills kicks up the dust there, but he's used to being off-road because he has been a junior rallycross champion prior to when he started in the Super Cup. He joined in 2017, was the Rookie of the Year, and got himself into title contention with his first couple of wins last season at Alton Park and Donington, so he knows exactly how to work one of these cars to their full potential, and he's up there in the championship fight in 3rd place. But a lot of work to do to keep up with the top 2 who are starting to break away here. So the fight for 4th is developing between Steve Roberts and the white car, followed by the black and red machine of Patrick Fletcher. Just behind him in the blue and white car is Jack Sycamore, and then just behind them, just out of shot, is the yellow and green machine of Will Stevenson. Stevenson looking to the outside of Jack Sycamore into Tower Corner. Sycamore's got more things to worry about, that mainly being trying to find a way past Patrick Fletcher. A little wide there for Gary Townsend as the top 2 continue to break away and up at the front of the field. Now Aidan Hills, now he's managed to get past Steve Roberts. He's now starting to charge after the top 2 who are scrapping amongst themselves as Herbert forces Harding to go defensive, looking for the cutback on the exit. Sonny in, trying to get his nose up the inside. Is there any run up the inside? No. Harding manages to sweep in front and hold the place on the exit of Sonny out. There's a scrap for 4th place. 4 of them all together in a line. Still Roberts from Fletcher, Sycamore and Stevenson. Gary Townsend's not too far away, but he might come in under threat from Nick Rutter as they come into the complex. And David Henderson rounds out the top 10 as they come back into the hairpin to the end of lap 2. And look how quickly Aidan Hills has caught the back of the leading pair as they head into the hairpin. So this is now going to be a 3-way scrap for the lead between the top 3 men arguably in the championship. Jack Harding in the white and red car, the all-blue car of Luke Herbert, and then Aidan Hills, who just sets the fastest lap of the race on the first proper flying lap around this Croft circuit. 136.469. That's compared to 137.1s, which both Harding and Herbert did, and that is a prerequisite of exactly what we've been saying. The harder these 2 keep on battling, the easier it is for the cars behind to start to catch up. So Aidan Hills now is going to try and see if he can work smart here and find a way past both Luke Herbert and Jack Harding, or hope that they both start to scrap too much, that they get so preoccupied that he can slip up the inside or dive down the outside and make a move on the pair of them. Harding sweeps to the apex of Tower Corner on lap 3, just ahead of Luke Herbert now, who is being kept under massive pressure from Aidan Hills. And now the top 2 trying to pull away here from Steve Roberts in 4th place. Patrick Fletcher doing a grand job in 5th, followed by Sycamore, Stevenson. Then it's Gary Townsend, Nick Rutter, and up into 10th place now is Bradley Kent. Is now heading into the complex at Sunny Inn, looking down the outside is Aidan Hills, looking for the cutback which Herbert tried on Harding a lap ago. But Harding's more focused on the rear end. And look now, look at this. This is what we talked about. Now it's become a 4-car scrap for Believe, because look at Steve Roberts. He's now managed to get sell right onto the tail of Aidan Hills once again. He's leaving Patrick Fletcher behind. Now the scrap for 6th goes on between Jack Sycamore and Will Stevenson. Gary Townsend 8th, Rutter 9th, and Kent 10th. As again, Harding has to really tuck tight on the inside line to defend from a movement from Herbert here, but the sprint down the pit straight could decide it. Here comes Steve Roberts then, looking for 3rd place. He's close in the slipstream, but so is Aidan Hills on the back of Luke Herbert. Which way is he going to go? Outside, trying to get the dummy on the run towards Clairvaux, but he's not close enough to make that move. And Herbert can take the run through the right-hander pretty much without having to compromise his line. So now it's a case of Herbert now trying to look at his mirrors too much and defend from Hills, who in turn is a bit of a catch-22. He's got to keep one eye on Herbert in front, but one eye on Roberts behind, and that's a difficult thing to do. When you're in the middle of a 3-car sandwich, that's difficult to do. And look at Jack Sycamore. He's pointing to Will Stevenson in the mirror saying, look, don't battle me. Let's go catch the guys in front. They're battling amongst each other. Let's work together and catch the top 5. And also you can see, look, another car joins the fight, because Patrick Fletcher, who was a little bit further back in 5th position, now sails onto the tail of the field. And also you can see behind, look, I'm not sure Will Stevenson can see the message from Jack Sycamore, because they were going side by side through the Jim Clark S's. And Stevenson's gone through, and whether that's part of the strategy, whether he's waved him through and said, look, you're clearly faster, let me follow you. Let's see if we can work together. So this is the fight for 6th, although I don't think they'll be fighting for much longer. They're going to try and catch the leading group as they head out of Sunny Out now on lap 4. There's Stevenson and Sycamore heading out of the right-hander. Gary Townsend's back in 8th, still leading the Masters contingent. Nick Rutter is in 2nd place from them. And then it's George Grant in 12th place overall, but the 3rd place Master. And then it's Ray Worley in 4th place, but 13th overall. Now on lap 4. Coming to the end of the lap, and let's see what the strategy is here between Stevenson and Sycamore as they start to try and work together here. They've got plenty of time. 13.5 minutes to go. But don't tell Luke Herbert that, because he's going to the outside line. He wants the lead now. He's tired of sitting at the back of the 43. Looks to the outside, looks for the cutback on the exit, but again, just not enough momentum to put himself alongside. Harding has got enough pace in that 43 car to hold on. And now look, Patrick Fletcher joins the queue, and now it becomes a quintet. So the battle starts to intensify further. They'll touch on the right rear wheel onto the grass there for Luke Herbert. Aidan Hills tucks in 3rd place. Roberts and Fletcher are there. And now, as Harding has to go defensive on the inside line, here comes Aidan Hills down the outside of Luke Herbert for 2nd place. And he catches Herbert completely off guard. Goes right, puts 2 wheels, 4 wheels onto the grass. Now here comes Steve Roberts going side by side for 3rd place. And still, the move can't be done. Aidan Hills looks for 2nd place on the outside line through the Jim Clark S's. He's got the outside line. He puts all 4 wheels onto the runoff area, but he's holding firm. He's a brave battler, is Aidan Hills. He will not let this go. But he has to capitulate and let Luke Herbert get back into 2nd place. But again, that might be giving Jack Harding the break he needs now in the lead, as they come back out of Sunny Out once again. Top 5 altogether. A little bit of dust kicked up from Patrick Fletcher. Here comes Roberts diving up the inside for 3rd place. But again, not far enough alongside. Stevenson, then from Sycamore, Townsend, Rutter, and then David Henderson rounding out the top 10, followed by Bradley Kent, George Grant, Ray Worley, and then it'll be 14th place for Christopher Richardson. And now we come to the end of lap 5 in this first race of the weekend for the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 Super Cup. So Harding now has a gap of 7/10 of a second. Herbert in P2, Hills in 3rd, Roberts and Fletcher. The top 5 are covered by 1.8 seconds. That's how close it is in this battle for the podium places. Look at that, just rumbling over the curbs, and then they swing their way all the way through the right-hander, wheel their way through the S's and onto the back straight as they make this charge towards Tower Bend. And this is the chance where everyone can start to close in the slipstream here. And Luke Herbert's not as close as he was before. Aidan Hills is, and he might start to put the number 1 under pressure as they head back to the top of the circuit into Tower Bend. There's Patrick Fletcher. What a great race he's having in 5th position. Ever since he joined the championship, he's really come on leaps and bounds since the start of the year. And being up there in the leading group already, that is surely going to put him on as one of the favourites for Rookie of the Year this season. It's a title that Aidan Hills has won before. He made full use of that confidence by being able to thrust himself into the title battle in 2018. And now he's firmly established as a front runner in 2019. You can see that now. So, 5 together for the lead. Fletcher's lost a little bit of momentum. He's just dropped back by a couple of car lengths. But still in touch as I looking up the inside line. Oh, that was close there for Luke Herbert, but has that compromised his exit on the first part of the complex up towards the hairpin, because here comes Aidan Hills looking down the outside. Remember, he's not averse to making a pass that you might not be able to make anywhere else. And that might compromise his exit from onto the pit strip, because here comes Steve Roberts with a good run off the hairpin. He will go side by side, but he's on the outside line on the run down towards Clairvaux for the 7th time. We're on the start of lap 7, but Roberts might get his nose in front. Can he break a little bit later? Hills has got track position. They go side by side, and Roberts thinks better of it. He slots back in behind and remains in 4th position. But that was a warning shot to Aidan Hills. Meanwhile, Luke Herbert's found a little bit more pace, and here he comes onto the back of Jack Harding now. This is a great chance he's got here to possibly snatch the lead away. We're into the second half of the race, and Luke Herbert is back on the tail of the race leader. So the top 2 in the championship in reverse order in the race at the moment, but is that about to change as here comes Luke Herbert back down the outside line. Roberts has another look up the inside, a little nibble on the rear bumper of Aidan Hills to let him know he's still there in 3rd place. And the top 5 again trying to pull out. The gap between 5th and 6th now is 4.2 seconds, so that's how much the class to field these 5 really are. And again, inside, outside, looking for any kind of avenue to get through. But Luke Herbert may have to try and go around the outside. Jack Harding says, you want to pass me, do it the hard way. He says, if you're going to leave the door open on the exit, I'll take it any day of the week if you're going to do so. And they head back through again, all 5 of them together. It's almost a 20-wheeled Mazda MX-5 Super Cup car. They're that close together. Herbert again puts himself at Harding's mirrors. Likewise, Roberts on Hills. And still, that looks like Stevenson and Sycamore haven't really been able to work together too much, because pack of 5 cars is pulling away even further. Again, Hills takes another sneak up the inside at a possible chance at 2nd place, but still no chance to get through. Across the line to end lap 7. It's still Harding, Herbert, Hills, Roberts, Fletcher. That's the top 5, all on the screen together. From right to left, back into Clairvaux once again. A little bit spread out between the top 2 now, and it's all together for 3rd place. It's a cracking battle, typical of the Mazda MX-5 Super Cup, and you really do get a good run here. A good run for Patrick Fletcher also. He's got the inside line to the S's. They'll go side by side, and Roberts had to cut across the chicane. Now then, is he going to have to lift off and give up the gap, or is he possibly even going to have to give up the position as a result of that? That was a bit cheeky, but he might not have had too much room, because Patrick Fletcher forced the issue. He wanted to go side by side into the entrance of the S's, and to avoid contact with the tyre stack, he had to go off the road. Steve Roberts might argue that, but let's wait and see if these stewards have anything to say about it. The race continues on. 7 3/4 minutes to go now in this first race of the weekend for the Mazda MX-5 Super Cup, and now, because of that battle, it's now allowed Aidan Hills to once again catch up to the top 2. And once again, it is the Triple H. It is Harding, Herbert and Hills all the way through. Sunny in and sunny out. Roberts still 4th, Patrick Fletcher 5th. Then a gap back to 6th place. There in the background there was Will Stevenson. He's pulled away from Jack Sycamore in 7th place. It's now back into the complex again. End of lap 8 with just over 7 minutes to go. Again, Harding and Herbert have to go to the inside line, because in turn they're defending from each other, because Harding's defending from Herbert, Herbert's defending from Hills. Hills takes the racing line on the exit of the corner to try and get the best possible runs, try and get himself into the mix. And Steve Roberts is doing everything he can to hold on to the rear bumper. So the 4 of them are starting to pull away ever so slightly from Fletcher. Fletcher's back by about half a second or so now, but he's staying in contention. As we come up now to 6.5 minutes left in this race, out through Hawthorns at the start of lap 9. And still, it is Jack Harding looking for his 4th win of the season. Herbert wants his 3rd, Harding wants his 4th, Roberts wants his 1st win of the season. As they make the sprint down towards Tower Bend once again. The bonnet just flapping on. One of the catches has come off, I think, on the front of Steve Roberts' bonnet, because it's starting to flap around a bit, so it's not going to be too much of an issue. I don't think it's going to be enough to cause a black and white mechanical flag, I'm sure. There's Patrick Fletcher in 5th, just losing a little bit of touch with our top 4. As again, here comes Luke Herbert with his best chance now of the race so far. He is side by side trying to get himself in front. They're going to be wheel to wheel. And look at Aidan Hills up the inside, almost makes contact, charging up the inside at the first part of Sunny in. What prizes the door open, and out the inside for 3rd place goes possibly Steve Roberts. So look at that, Aidan Hills with a fantastic opportunistic move, diving straight up the inside. There wasn't any contact, but he caught Luke Herbert completely off guard, sided his way up into second place. Cheers very much, Luke. It's a lock-up for Steve Roberts. He goes wide on the exit of the second part of the complex, loses out to Patrick Fletcher. Another big lock-up again, almost contacted the back of the 29. But what a move from Aidan Hills. And now, as he holds the fastest lap of the race, his next target has to be surely to chase after the back end of Jack Harding. He's going to go for his possible 4th race victory. So here they come then. He's taken a race victory. He's taken 1 at Snetterton. He's taken 1 at Alton Park. He's taken 1 at Anglesey. He now wants to make it a clear record, a race victory at each of the 4 rounds he's come at so far. Can he do it in this next 5 minutes? Now then, also as well, next question, what does Patrick Fletcher have for 3rd place man and championship leader and double defending champion Luke Herbert? Let's have a look. There is Will Stevenson in 6th place, Sycamore 7th, Townsend, then Henderson and Rutter, that's the top 10, but there is your 2nd place man, Aidan Hills. Look at the lap times last time by. It was a personal best for Harding of a 37.1, but it was a 136.9 for Hills, and then if that's correct, 138.3, so 136.9 for Aidan Hills, and that's about half a second off his fastest lap of the race, which is a 136.469. Just 4.25 minutes to go now, and you have to feel that possibly Luke Herbert's charge has faded a little bit, unless he can try and put himself back into contention here. If Aidan Hill starts to get held up by trying to get around Jack Harding, he's closing in on the braking zone towards the complex, and now it's Luke Herbert's turn to start defending from both Patrick Fletcher and Steve Roberts. Look at Aidan Hill's working away at the wheel. He's not advanced to getting a little bit sideways because, of course, remember, as we talked about earlier on, he's a junior rallycross champion, so he knows all about getting out of there. Of course, Croft is a rallycross venue, so I'm sure he would have been here before when he competed in the, I think it was the junior rallycross championship in the Suzuki Swift. Down towards Clairvaux again. 3.5 minutes to go. We're going to get, I think, possibly, if they're lucky, 2, maybe 3 more laps as they bound over the curbs, 3rd, 4th and 5th. Luke Herbert seems to have been a little bit rattled after that move. I think he surprised everyone, including all of us, because Aidan Hills came from absolutely nowhere, from about must have been about 20 yards back or so, made a massive dive up the inside line, I think, and Luke Herbert just about saw him at the last minute, turned out to the corner, gave him the room, and that's what saw Aidan Hills siding into 2nd place. Now then, Aidan Hills wants that victory, but so does Jack Harding. Those two, I'm sure, will want to try and wrestle with the crown from Luke Herbert away this season. A little wide on the exit over the curbs and onto the grass for Aidan Hills. Likewise for Luke Herbert. Looking back, this is a good battle developing here. We've got Gary Townsend scrapping away with the 36 of that is David Henderson, and also in the behind is the orange car of Nick Rutter. And there is Bradley Kent, younger brother of TCR UK runner Lewis Kent. And he's just fresh off the back of his first 2 MX-5 race victories in the Super Series, which was exactly the same cars as the Super Cup, but it's a non-point scoring series that still follows the Mark 1 Championship. Took 2 victories. The first one he managed to pick up after making a good pass of a lead, and the second one he dominated by about 13 seconds at the flag, so showing some definite skill compared to that of his younger brother, of his older brother. And Gary Townsend, of course, is the leading Masters driver in this championship. Masters, we said, is for drivers aged 45 and over. Won the championship last year. He wants to pick up a 2nd one this season, but he's got Nick Rutter in 2nd place in that class. Luke Herbert, the new fastest lap of the race. He's not hanging around now in his efforts to get himself back through. We've got 2 more laps to go as they cross the line with about 2 minutes left on the clock. 1 minute 36.429 now. That was 0.04 of a second quicker than Luke Herbert as this battle continues on for 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th in the field. Here comes Henderson in the slipstream. Where's he going to go? Inside or outside? Inside he chooses. Can he force himself up the inside? He thought about it, but had to sweep back into the racing line to try not to compromise his line as much as possible as they head back into Hawthorne once again. And it's a good thing about the MX-5 Super Cup. You've always got somebody to race with, no matter what the skill level. It's towards the front, in the middle of the pack, or towards the rear. There's always somebody to give you a good race here. There's a cracking one developing here. It might only be for 8th place. Doesn't matter. It's a great battle nonetheless between these 4 cars as they head back down towards Tower Bend. So still as it was. Townsend, Henderson, Rutter, and then Bradley Kent. They turn out onto the back section of the circuit. Back with our leaders, and it's now, look at this, 3 of them all together again, and Luke Herbert is onto the back of Aidan Hills, who in turn feels as though he wants to start making an attempt or making a move here of Jack Harding for the lead. into the complex. This is for the second to last time. They've got one more time around the Croft circuit to make this happen now. And Herbert wants to try and get his revenge on Aidan Hills here. He wants to try and surprise him with a move, but he knows if he tries to make that one, it might well give the victory to Jack Harding. They cross the line with 25 odd seconds to go. One more time around Croft for the top 5. So Jack Harding leads the way. Aidan Hills is second, but for how much longer? Here comes Luke Herbert, possibly looking up the inside. He's not far enough to make a pass for second, so he has to hold back and fall back into the clutches of both Patrick Fletcher and also Steve Roberts. So Harding, Hills, Herbert, Fletcher and Roberts. That's the top 5. The clock hits 0 now onto the back straight for the final time. Now Jack Harding, he's not comfortable, but he's not being threatened with a move for the lead here by Aidan Hills. We know he can pull off daredevil passes. Nothing doing yet, but in this last half lap, has he got something in reserve here to close up onto the back? But he might not do it if he's got Luke Herbert crawling over his rear bumper, because that might distract him too much. Into the Jim Clark S's for the last time. Luke Herbert wants second place back from Aidan Hills. Is he going to squeeze back up the inside into Barcroft? The answer is, well, he thought about it, but not quite. Is he going to dive up the inside into Sunny In? No, he's not close enough. But can Aidan Hills find something in these last few corners to possibly steal the race victory away from Jack Harding in this end of this first race here in the Mazda MX-5 Super Cup? Here comes Herbert once, twice, looks left then right, but can't get through. Also, Steve Roberts thought about a move here. Was fourth, plays up the inside for second place into the complex for the last time. Goes Luke Herbert, but he just can't get it done. And he may have to settle for third place. He looks back up again at the inside, but nothing doing. He can't get the move sorted, and so it will be up to the checkered flag for his 4th race win of the season. Jack Harding puts himself again firmly into championship contention once more. He cements second place with a victory in race 1 of the weekend for the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 Super Cup in a great race. Aidan Hills second, Luke Herbert third, then it's Fletcher and Roberts rounding out the top 5. Will Stevenson will pick up in 6th position. It'll be Jack Sycamore in 7th. Here's our quartet scrapping over 8th down to 11th. And this is held by Gary Townsend, who will come across the line in 8th position. And he will hold off David Henderson, Nick Rutter and Bradley Kent on the sprint to the checkered flag. Across the line they go. You can count them all across the line. And then the last few cars will be George Grant, Ray Worley and Christopher Richardson to round out the 14 runners. Another brilliant race, as ever, by the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 Super Cup. They never fail to entertain. And that, I'm sure, is a very happy Jack Harding. That's another race victory, and another race victory he's taken away from his main rivals. And that will certainly thrust him, possibly, with a chance to get closer to the championship lead, because he came into the weekend 6 points. 8 points behind, but it's going to give him a bit more chance. Here is the provisional result. Jack Harding with his 4th win of the season in the MX-5 Super Cup. Aidan Hills picks up 2nd from Luke Herbert in 3rd. Patrick Fletcher with, I think that's a personal best, 4th place. Steve Roberts completes the top 5, complete ahead of Will Stevenson. Jack Sycamore, Gary Townsend, who is your top Masters driver home. David Henderson and Nick Rutter. Then it's Bradley Kent, George Grant, Ray Worley and Christopher Richardson completes the 14 cars. All 14 started, and you can count all 14 back home again. That's what we like to see. So we'll have 2 more races for the MX-5 Super Cup, of course, tomorrow. The second race will be set by the second fastest times in qualifying in terms of the grid. But we're not done just yet, because we have 1 more race still to go for today's live stream, and that is for the Disc Lock Civic Cup. And if you like touring car style racing action, oh boy, you're in for a treat, because the Civic Cup really do put on a fascinating tin top style display. So the cars make their way into pit lane, with our top 3 being led in by Jack Harding. Patrick Flex has dropped back a little bit. And to greet the top 3 as they come into the pit lane, as ever once more, is Bryn Lucas.
Right, well, I'm here with the race winner, Jack Harding. It was a hard-fought race. Looking at it from the outside, Jack, this is one that concertinaed up a lot. You pulled ahead and concertinaed, pulled ahead, concertinaed again. It was keeping you honest, keeping you true.
Yeah, it's the slipstream's so much around here, so it's hard to get away. I mean, I was hoping they'd all sort of battle and I'd be able to get away, but yeah, it doesn't always work like that way in the Mazdas. So after the day I've had, we won't really go into it, but it's really nice to come out on top. So yeah, no, it's brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. Well done.
Thank you.
It was a really, really good race. Let's go to second place. Let's go to Aiden Hills. I mean, the overtake there that you got on Luke was inspired, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, I saw him do it last year on Jack, so I thought I'd have to give him a bit of a taste of his own medicine with that one. Yeah, I saw the move a couple laps before. Luke, I wasn't quite on the back of him, and Luke tried it around the outside through Sunny, so I thought if I can get a little bit closer, I might be able to get up the inside of him. So yeah, I got there, and then when I was behind Jack, didn't quite have enough pace to overtake him. I think we were similar pace, me and Jack. Luke's probably quicker than us both, but yeah, it's racing, you know, it doesn't matter how fast you are if you're not in front. So
yeah, but he makes it very hard for you because he makes that car very wide. Looking at it, there are a lot of opportunities to overtake if only you can get on the inside or get your nose alongside, but he makes it so tricky.
Yeah, the hardest part about it is when you're in the middle of a big group, it's really hard to go up the inside or go around the outside of someone, because if you do something and get on the grass, you know, you end up 3 or 4 places back. So yeah, it wasn't ideal, but I just got to say big thanks to Dad and John for the setup for the car. You know, we've been working on it all weekend, and we finally made it work. So yeah, it's good to be on the podium. Obviously starting 5th, we weren't too happy with it, but yeah, back on the box, so it's all good.
Yeah, well done. It was fantastic. Good to see. And let's quickly grab Luke. A quick word for you as they line up, though. Well done there. It was a tough race.
Yeah, I mean, that highlights what Mazda race is all about. You know, the top 5 all going for the lead and not one touch. I went for a move on Jack, well, a few moves, but the biggest chance I had, it actually ruined me because it got Aiden past. But, you know, I got the quickest lap, so same points for second. So, yeah, great. But, you know, thanks to all my sponsors for putting me here. It's brilliant.
Well done, well done. There we go. So it's time for another race. Back up to Scott.